What's up, guys? This is Christopher Carrington with GMUstudent.com. Today we are going to move forward and start doing our validations for this phone number input. So as we saw in the previous tutorial, we figured out how to, if the user said something like 8 and then Chris Carrington, it obviously would not work. But if they just had the Chris Carrington in there, it would work. And if they took this space out of here, it would not work. And we also validated that there was a full name and no characters, nothing special. You remember what we did, and if we take it out, it says name is required. So now we are going to try to do something very similar, but with the phone number field. So if we remember, the way that we did everything was with Regex. So that Regex would allow us to look for a set with characters that were uppercase or lowercase letters, an unlimited amount of characters. Then we were looking for one space, and then we were looking for another set of lowercase or uppercase letters. That could be how many ever there are, and that was the end of the string. And remember, this caret means the beginning of the string, and this $sign means the end of the string. And we use name.match to see if we have a match. So now we're going to make another function called validate phone that will do very similar stuff, but all we are going to be validating is that the user only types in basic digits. So they have an area code like 555 and then 2987354 or something like that. And then we will validate to make sure that they don't include anything like this or anything like that or anything like that. All we're looking for is just the basic digits so that we can slap it into our database and use it later. So now I'm going to teach you how to look for those basic digits. So first things first, if we start making our function, it's going to start out very similar to the previous function. So if we come into our JavaScript and we have function validate phone, and then you give me our braces, and then in here, let's say var phone is assigned document dot get element by ID dot value. Now we have to think, what is the ID we are looking for? Well, that ID will be whatever the ID of that form input column is for the actual phone number. So we haven't made that yet. So here is that actual field that is for the phone number. So we're going to have to do a lot of the things like we did up here. We're going to have to give it an ID. We can call it something like comment phone. So let's start with that. So let's say ID is assigned comment phone. So now I can take this and I can plop it in here. So now this value of phone will be whatever the user has in here. So now let's add an on key up, just like we did there, and say on key up validate phone. So now what this is saying is, just like we went over before, it will go to the validate phone JavaScript function whenever someone has a key up. All the same stuff. And then you remember we are going to need a label ID for our label to say, hey, this is a good input, or hey, this is a bad input. So we have to have ID is assigned comment phone prompt. It's as simple as that. Now we are up to speed on our HTML, and now we can completely just focus on our JavaScript. So I'm going to save that, and now let's jump back into JavaScript. So now the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to have two if statements just like we have here. And we are going to first check if the phone number is 0, like it has no value in there, and then we'll tell them phone numbers are required. And then we will have a special regex function that will check if the phone number only has numbers in it. So let's do the first one that's going to look very similar to this. We're going to check that there is a value in there. So just say if phone dot length equals 0, then we will call our produce prompt function, this one, and send it the 3 parameters just like we did before. So we say produce prompt, and let's say phone number is required. And then we have to put the ID of wherever we want this to show up. So let's say comment phone prompt. So we will plop comment phone prompt right here. And then the last thing we will say is that we want it to be red, so that it will show up as red. And then it will be return false. So this is all starting out very similar to how we did this before. So if we save this and we go back to our form, let's see if it works. So I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to type in some information, then I'm going to take it out, and now it says phone number is required. So we're back to where we started our previous tutorial. But now we want to make sure that if they type in anything, that it should say phone number is good after that. So now we have to tell them that they have a valid phone number. So outside of the if statement, let's produce a prompt, and let's say valid number. And let's put it in this same field, and let's make this a green prompt. Save that up, get a semicolon, and then let's return true. Okay, now let's see if this works. So if we type in some information, it says valid number, we take it out, it's bad. In, good, out, bad. Boom, 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 boom. Now it's working perfectly fine. So the last step is now we have to make sure that the user is only typing in numbers. So just like we did before, let's go to Regex Pal, and let's see what we can get from him. So if you remember, up top we type in the regex that we want to do to validate, and then down below we will type in what we're looking for. So let's just type in a number 555-320-9980. So how many characters is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are looking for only numbers, and it can only be 10 characters. So if it is 11 characters, it should not be good. So if we remember, when we are looking for any specific kind of set, we use this set notation. But instead of checking for A to Z, since we're not looking for characters, we'll be checking from 0 to 9, meaning that we're looking for any number. And remember that we always start with the caret. Whoop, what did I do there? We start with the caret and we end with the $sign. So let's see what we can get. So we said that we want to look for characters from 0 to 9. And then if we remember that if we wanted to check for a specific amount of anything, instead of using the star, which would mean as many characters as possible, we want to only look for 10 characters. So we would use this set notation and we would put 10 in after that. So we would just say 10. But now you see that if it would still say that this part was valid, so we need to make sure that we encapsulate our entire string by doing the caret and by doing the $sign. So if we take out the extra characters, it should work. But once we have an extra character in there, it does not match. So now we have regex that is looking for what we want. We're saying from the very beginning of the string, check for only numbers and only check for 10 numbers. So and then go to the end of the string. So if from the beginning to the end of the string, there's anything besides 10 numbers, this will not work. So this is the regex that we want. So now let's start writing up our function, and then we'll add the regex in there. So now we have to, let's make sure we're in our validate phone. So we're in this validate phone function. So we will say if, very similar to what we have up here, phone does not match what's ever in there, we want to produce a prompt that will say, please only include digits. Okay, and now let's say where we want to put it. So I'm going to highlight this stuff. I'm going to paste that in there. Give me a semicolon and say return false. And if we remember, the way that we utilize regex in JavaScript is we give 2 forward slashes and then we paste our entire regular expression into those slashes, into the middle. So right in the middle, paste that in there, save this, and now let's see if it works. Actually, let's just say, I'm going to change this, yeah, that's fine. So if we come in here and we say 777, oh, I make sure I refresh this. So if we say 555-890-8832, now it works. But if you see, while the user was typing in, we were giving them a prompt that was saying, please only include digits. What if we could say, please, please, maybe we could say like please include an area code maybe if the length isn't long enough. So what if we said something like if phone dot length does not equal 10, then we can say produce prompt, so we can make a specific prompt if the phone length is not long enough, and say phone number must include area code. So as you can see, we could really check for whatever it is that we want to look for every special circumstance. And this will be very good for our user because they'll know exactly what they did wrong. So what this is saying is if the length is not length, if the length is not 10 characters long, then we will tell them that they also need to include an area code. So let's see if this works. So refresh the page, and let's say 777, and now you will see, please, phone number must include area code. Oh, we see I'm kind of wrapping around. So let me just take this out, save this, come back over here, refresh. Okay, 777 must include area code, but then if we type in 888-5555, now we have a valid number. But now let's say if the user typed in an I in there, then it will say please only include digits. But if we take that out, must include area code. You know that's cool. Now we're making specific prompt messages depending on what they are doing wrong. So the user knows exactly the second they do something wrong that they need to fix something. So the second they put in a different character or something like that, then they will know that it is invalid. And the second that it is valid, it's good. And you see this has nothing to do with what we did up here. So now we have validated the first two inputs. In the next video, we are going to work on some more regex and learn how to make an email validation. And then in the last video, we are going to work on comment. So thank you for watching. This has been Christopher Carrington with GMUstudent.com. I hope you guys are learning regex and JavaScript in this tutorial. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.